Wallace now, Fox News Sunday host for his weekly visit. So waiting for Mueller.
Yeah, look, I have said to you, I've said to everybody, if this were Las Vegas, you would always take the over. I mean, how many times? I remember John Dowd back in October of 2017 saying it would be over by that Thanksgiving. That was a year and a half ago. And I don't really quite know why, but every once in a while there seems to be this kind of fever in Washington. It's coming out this week. It's coming out today. And frankly, we've all been kind of waiting at DEFCON 3 to see whether it was going to come out today. It still could, but it hasn't so far. At some point, the prediction that it's coming out today will be true.
Yeah, and I'm with you on every point. All that's obviously absolutely true. But, Chris, this does feel a little bit different, maybe partly because of the Rosenstein announcement. I don't know. Folks from every network have been told, don't leave justice. You know, there's a lot out there. Who the heck knows? Well, no one. And really, I don't know about you. All I'm really expecting is a sentence. A sentence like the Mueller report is complete and has been handed over to the Attorney General.
Well, that's exactly the point. When they say it's going to come out, I think that really has to be put in quotes because we know under the regulations that the special counsel operates under, he delivers a, quote, confidential report to the Attorney General, who then reviews it and decides what he's going to reveal specifically to Congress. And the only thing he's supposed to reveal would be that he has to reveal, he could reveal it much more, is any action that the special counsel has taken and any action that the Attorney General has decided not to take. A declination is called, a declining to take action. And so I agree with you. If it were to come out in the next 2 hours, my guess is you would get one sentence. The special counsel has handed over his report to the Attorney General, who will now review it.
Yeah. And furthermore, if it's widely held belief that indicting a sitting president is not something that they would do, right? So,
well, I don't know if it's a widely held belief. It is what has up till now been the guidance from the Office of Legal Counsel, which is in effect the people that sets the rules of the road for the Justice Department. Yeah. Now, conceivably, the special counsel, Robert Mueller, could do something else or recommend something else, but you know that has been the going assumption on the part of the Justice Department up till now.
Well, let's put it another way then. In the absence of an indictment of a sitting president, it's altogether possible, if not probable, that the Mueller report might not even mention any activities of the president, because historically and traditionally, if the Justice Department doesn't indict someone, to bring up anything about that person would be outside the norm.
Here's the only wrinkle I would throw into that. If you follow the Constitution and if you believe that a president cannot be indicted because the constitutional remedy would be impeachment, I'm sure, and this is an argument that I suspect that House Democrats would make, look, if you've decided you can't indict and you have any information about the president, again, all of this is hypothetical, but if you were to have it, that you should turn it over to the House, because under the Constitution, we're to decide whether he's guilty of high crimes or misdemeanors. I'm sure that is an argument that if they don't turn everything over to the House, that House Democrats will make.
And even say we get the sentence, and then the sentence saying it's, you know, the Mueller report's complete, and then it goes, whatever goes to the House, which comes obviously from the Attorney General's office, and the process moves forward. Separately from all of that, because of the way Mueller has constructed this, the investigations are going on everywhere. Southern District of New York, going on in Virginia, going on in the Congress. The investigations don't end. The process continues. It feels like this could be a never-ending sort of thing.
Well, certainly up to Election Day in 2020. I don't mean to be cynical about it, but I do think, particularly in the part of House Democrats, they're seeing this as a way to continue to put heat and perhaps continue to do some damage to the president during the presidential campaign. But you're exactly right. We know that the Southern District of New York is continuing to investigate matters not necessarily about the president, but most likely, certainly about people related to the president. We know that the House Oversight, I think 6 committees in the House are looking at various aspects of the president's dealings, both in office and before he came into office. So you could well say that when Mueller hands over the report, that isn't the end of this process. It's just was maybe not the beginning, but a way station during a very long and continuing journey.
Or even maybe the end of the beginning.
Well, yes, or isn't that what Winston Churchill said? You've been asking me a lot of questions. Can I ask you one?
Okay.
So I know you've been a big fan of Ole Miss basketball this year.
Come on, they had a great season. They were predicted.
I don't even know. Were they in the NCAA?
To finish last in the league. Got a new coach who's coach of the year. They flipped their record around from 12-20 to 20-12.
So have they played this year?
Lost to Tennessee by 2, lost to Kentucky by 2 or 3. Fantastic team, inspiring, sellouts like we've never had before, attendance records at the Pavilion at Ole Miss.
I didn't ask you any of that. I just asked you, did they play in the
They played
NCAA?
today and lost, Chris. Would you like some salt, for I have a wound?
I didn't know that.
Very
I didn't know.
proud
I was
of those
asking
young
it as an
men and that
innocent
whole
question.
team and that whole organization. And Coach Davis, they represented us well and made us all proud. I'm really
well, I
proud.
feel your pain, and I'd want you to know that as your colleague and friend, I take no pleasure in the defeat of Mississippi. I think they were playing Oklahoma, right?
They did play
I think
Oklahoma.
It probably was like a pretty bad defeat.
Oklahoma looked fantastic today. They really did. Tells you a lot about tells you a lot about their conference. I mean, they finished below water in their conference, and they came out and shot the lights out. And Oklahoma was great today. Good, Boomer Sooner, good luck. But my Rebels made us proud, always.
Okay.
I'll send more cartons of salt to you for future wounds.
Make it Morton's.
Still excited for March Madness. Chris, it's great to see you. Looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. Chris will be talking with a member of the House Intelligence Committee, the Democrat Jim Himes. And if the Mueller report comes down, which I suppose it could this afternoon, maybe after the markets close, I just don't know. No one knows. Anybody who tells you they know, unless it's Bob Mueller you're talking to, they're probably not straight up with you. So, but this Sunday, if there's a Mueller report, surely he'll have more Mueller report stuff on there because, Mueller report.
As we wait for special counsel Robert Mueller to deliver his report on Russian election meddling, there are growing demands for full disclosure.
Whether the report exonerates the president, implicates the president, or somewhere in between, the American people deserve transparency.
Ian Pryor is a former principal deputy director of public affairs at the Justice Department, and I saw you on Outnumbered the other day, and I thought maybe we should get him here because you have expertise. So I wanted to ask you about what you read in the tea leaves. Let me read to you Robert Costa of the Washington Post tweeted this today. On phone with Giuliani, who's tracking Mueller, just like everybody else in D.C., with the TV on scrolling through, and he said he's talked to the president today, that it's like waiting for a baby to be born. If the report is good, I'll give out cigars. And then reporter Mike Levine tweeted this. General Bill Barr just walked past me inside the DOJ. I asked him, is today the day? And his response was a death stare before walking off without saying a word. So I imagine I used to work at the DOJ Public Affairs Office. The number of phone calls they must be getting must be incredible. You know that world well.
Yeah, I can imagine what it's like. I'm sure all the reporters that cover the Department of Justice are waiting in the press room. Everyone there is sort of waiting with bated breath, a little bit like waiting for a pope to be announced. We're waiting for the white smoke to come out of the fifth floor of the Department of Justice.
But do you think, though, that kind of like that white smoke, I mean, do you think that there are signs that it is actually wrapping up?
Yeah, I do think it's wrapping up. I mean, whether that's going to happen today, whether it's next week, it's really unclear. And I'd be surprised if even people at Main Justice know. That really the only person that knows when that report is going to be done and delivered is Bob Mueller and his team. I think that the fact that several of Mueller's lawyers have left and gone back to Main Justice or going back to private practice, I think the fact that there's been no grand jury activity since the Roger Stone indictment are all telltale signs that this thing is wrapping up. But when it finally does and when that report goes to Bill Barr, that's anyone's guess.
So a lot of people talking today about this letter from last summer that Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, sent to Senator Grassley, basically saying that under policies and procedures at the DOJ should not reveal information about a criminal investigation if it's not necessary. It's kind of long, but I don't have a ton of time, and I want you to help explain to people that this is pretty standard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's in the Department of Justice manual that applies to all lawyers at the Department of Justice and the FBI, which is you do not publish or you do not release derogatory information about unindicted third parties. Now, what James Comey did, that's exactly what you're not supposed to do. And under this Department of Justice, specifically with Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein, they've made an effort to make sure that they do not make that mistake again. So when this report goes to Barr, I suspect that there will be very little in there that eventually gets to Congress for the public or even Congress to get into that involves anything that wasn't contained in the indictments that we've already seen.
And so what do you think about the House Democrats saying that, well, you know, regardless of what Mueller says, we're going to continue and like relitigate this and reinvestigate for the next, 2 years?
Yeah, I think that House Democrats and really the anti-Trump cartel have spent 2 years talking about Bob Mueller's integrity, Bob Mueller's professionalism, and they're right. And if this comes out and it does not take down President Trump as they've all hoped, and they continue along this path, I think they really risk becoming the tinfoil hat party here, and people are going to start to lose credibility. I think the public is going to tune them out, and ultimately that's going to inure to the benefit of Republicans in 2020.
All right, Ian Pryor, always good to have an expert like you on. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
As the world awaits the release of the Mueller report, are we finding out that there will reportedly be no more indictments stemming from the Russia probe? If true, the president really is out of the woods, or is he? Former Deputy Assistant Attorney General John Yoo. John, I know there are other issues that this has morphed into, including business dealings of the president, those around him, that could, for all I know, go back decades. You've reminded me many times that these investigations have a habit of veering from their original intent. I know it's a mug's game, but if it veers into something like that, wouldn't Americans rightly be annoyed?
Neil, I think you're right. It's been 2 years almost now that this independent counsel investigation has been going on. You were just discussing last segment the contents of a nothing burger. I'm with you. Burgers are great, but there's nothing going to be in here about the president. I think actually President Trump is going to be cleared by the guy he's been attacking all this time, Robert Mueller. But as you suggested, that doesn't mean it's over for the president, because the battlefield's now going to shift in two directions. One, it could go back to New York City in the Southern District with the federal prosecutors.
And why is that a big deal? Could you
you
explain to me? I know when Chris Christie was out with his book, he was talking about that's a big worry. Why? Could you explain?
Yeah, well, part it's good and it's bad for the president. The good part is all that investigation primarily doesn't have to do with President Trump's conduct as president. And because of that, anything that comes out of that against him would have to wait till after he leaves office. The bad thing is he doesn't really seem to have that contained. He doesn't really seem to know exactly. We don't seem to know exactly what's going on there. You're seeing a lot of, I think, trouble produced by some of the sort of sordid figures who kind of attached themselves to Trump before he ever decided to run for office, like Cohen.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that's coming out now. That could be damaging, but I don't think it has anything to do with Trump's performance of the job of the presidency. And
or
so
collusion. The irony would be that this
Oh,
whole thing that started
yeah.
with working with the Russians and all of that is not the case. If that happens and all this other ancillary stuff comes up, well, Democrats can pick and choose what they want to go on based on this report and pursue what they think are offenses, but where do you go with that?
Well, that's the other battlefield. The one battlefield is going to be the Southern District of New York. The other battlefield is going to be Congress. And here's the ironic thing. Trump actually wants the Mueller report to be broad. The Democrats have made Mueller into the gold standard for prosecution. The more Mueller talks about, the less there is for Congress to do. Democrats now are the ones who want Mueller to issue a short report because that gives them more scope for their own investigations, even potentially starting impeachment proceedings, which they could drag on for the rest of the years that Trump's in office.
So no matter what this report says, even if it exonerates the president and any of the people around him on collusion, this has now become its cause celeb, so anyone can make a celeb of the cause, right?
Yes, in fact, if you're a member of Congress on the Democrat side, you'd say you got elected just this last year in order to pursue investigations of the president. And you would say, look, Mueller is investigating whether there was collusion. We're going to investigate just whether we think Trump is fit to be president. And they could say, I think reasonably so, that those are two different inquiries, two different legal standards, and two different jobs under the Constitution. So nothing Mueller does would prevent them from pursuing the investigation that they want to pursue in the House of Representatives.
Wow. We shall watch it closely. John Yoo, thank you very much, my friend. Good seeing you. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, good seeing you too, Neil.
Of course, it won't be a good weekend if the report comes out, right? Then you'll have a busy weekend.